Café and Networking Podcast promotes entrepreneurs, startups, authors, business experts throughout the world. I'm Tom Reaoch, an American known as the King of Networking, connecting people and speaking from my studio in Vinhedo, São Paulo, Brazil. Today we talk with Nathaniel Turner, and he's joining us from Indianapolis, Indiana, in the United States. Nate Turner is a human committed to living with joy, on purpose, and helping, serving, and making sure everyone knows their life matters. He is a Human Propulsion Engineer, a TED speaker, author of children's books, The Amazing World of STEM, and the history-making Raising Supaman. So Nate, tell us, did you learn how to raise a child, or did your child learn how to raise you?
A little bit of both. Yes. I wrote letters to Naeem, and in writing letters to Naeem, I actually learned a lot about myself. It was kind of a cathartic experience for me. Didn't grow up with a great relationship with my father, and writing allowed me to pour out things out of my spirit that I didn't know that existed still, and helped me, I believe, to be a better father. And so in turn, my son helped me to be a better man.
Well, you started writing before he could read?
I started writing before he could read. I started writing him before he was born. I didn't know if we were having a boy or a girl, so I started making notes of the things I would want for my child. And then when my son when he was 2, he and I walked to the mailbox, and he asked me where was his mail. I got my mail, and he said, "Where's my mail?" And I said, "Son, I've got nothing but bills, right? I've got nothing but bills." And he says, "Yes, Dad, but where's my mail?" And I said, "Listen, these are just bills." And he said, "Dad, I want mail." So I went to Target, bought some greeting cards, bought some postcards, and started writing him about once a week from the office. And the letters and the postcards would arrive at home, and I'd get home, and he'd say, "Dad, I have mail." I said, "Yes, son, I know. I'm the one that wrote you." And after a couple of weeks of that, I said, "Listen, I'm not going to write you and read to you." And he said, "Teach me to read." So my son learned to read off of his father's letters.
Well, we really underestimate kids. They're smarter than we ever think they are.
Absolutely. Yeah, I learned so much from him, even from learning to watching him crawl and learning to walk. It's an experience that you can remember what it means to persevere, because babies first scoop, then they crawl, then they try to stand up and they fall, and they try to stand up and they fall, and when they finally figure out how to stand, then they run and they fall, and they run and they fall. And adults lose that as a focus. And watching him grow up like that reminded me that there was nothing I couldn't do. I just had to be okay with scooting, crawling, standing up, falling, and running and falling, and continue to do the same thing over again.
Sounds like a business person.
It sounds like life, right?
Well, and then the Amazing World of STEM, did that come after?
So the Amazing World of STEM essentially is a book that is loosely based on his childhood. Mm-hmm. It's about a young man named Stuart Tyson Elmo Morgan, who is an engineer, a budding engineer, and he and his friends want to improve the condition of the world. And they want to do it through science, technology, engineering, and math. But he and I wrote that together during the pandemic. It's something we had talked about a long time. And when the university sent him home, as they sent all the students home, right, and I said, well, now we have a time to do it, because, he left home as a 16-year-old and moved to Brazil. And so we really hadn't spent that much time in the same place since 2012. So thanks to the pandemic, we were able to do some stuff that we had also dreamed of, and finally got it done.
Well, you see, you're mentioning a thing that most people overlook is the advantages, let's say the good side of the pandemic. In many aspects, it's made us regroup, rethink as persons, as businesses, as whatever, and bring people in contact where they really couldn't be, and that's maybe virtually like we're doing today.
Correct. Yeah, he was able to come home, and as a high school junior, he left and moved to Brazil. So while his friends were preparing for their senior year in June of 2012, he moved to Brazil, moved to played at Desportivo Brazil in Porto Feliz, I believe that's correct, and was there in Brazil until October of 2013. So, we lost like 18 months or so, being around him, especially like his senior year in high school, and all our friends were doing stuff with their kids as seniors. He was in Brazil. And then he came home and applied for college and went off to the university. So he'd been gone really since 2012 for 8 years. So I was like, hey, well, I was cheated, and now I'm getting some of my time back. And so we decided to write the book, and now we're working on the second chapter, second story in the series.
Oh, but now, and as a TED speaker, you're also out speaking.
I'm out speaking
and telling those stories.
Telling those stories, talking about the way we backward designed his life. As I mentioned, we did a lot of things intentionally before he was born. So I was making notes, but my wife and I also wrote Harvard for an application and wanted to make sure that we gave our son a better educational opportunity than either of us had. So we thought we'd pick the best school in the nation and find a way to use Harvard's application to create a template for a child to use to help raise him. So the goal was to raise him to be intellectually ambitious, to be globally and culturally competent, which is why he speaks 4 languages and 2 others conversationally, and then to make sure he was focused on being a good humanitarian.
Wow, that's benchmarking at its utmost.
Yeah, well, and most people thought we were crazy. So if you'd come over our house when he was small, you'd have come into a room and you've heard language tapes being played, like, fala inglés? No, fala inglés, right? Hola, ¿cómo está? Bien, y tú? And our friends were like, what are you all doing? And he's a baby. Why aren't you playing nursery rhymes? We're like, well, no, because the brain science stuff we've read says this is better than playing a nursery rhyme. And, 14 or so years later.
I agree with you. Because obviously I live in Brazil. I've been here for a while, but ever since my children were born here,
okay,
I've only spoken to them in English because I said, well, they're going to learn Portuguese because they're here.
Absolutely.
And I understood the value, I don't want to say the value was the value of not speaking the language when I came. I know you visited here and you know how tough it is when you're in an environment and you don't speak the language.
It's tough.
It's tough. And that's anywhere. So what I said at that time, the only thing I can do with my kids is just speak to them in English. If they want to hear it, they're going to hear it. Whether they don't, right. Kids don't want to hear anything anyway. So, but until today, I speak to them in English and they answer me in Portuguese.
Okay, all right.
It's the way it is. So, and that's how we go. Well, anyway, Nate, I want to thank you for being part. I want to congratulate you on what you have done and even more on what you're going to still be doing, okay?
I appreciate you having me.
No, thanks for finding us too on Podmatch. And the best way for people to find you is your site, NathanielTurner.com.
NathanielATurner.com, yep.
Nathaniel A. Turner. Good thing you said that to me because I overlooked that.
No worries.
Okay. So remember, you can find more information about Nathaniel Turner on LinkedIn and his site, and I'll spell that out. It's NathanielAturner.com. Correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Very good. So thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
So Café and Networking is brought to us by Focus MI Market Intelligence, an agricultural market research specialist in Brazil. More information on their website, focusmi.com. Thanks for listening until the next time here at Café and Networking Podcast.